and welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Oh, where am I? Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another edition of the Code for Giants Cup number 6, our bi-weekly Brazilian only tournament. For los brasileiros, papi. Let's go. Great to be here. Great to be back. The camera is now back on, and we're jumping into our first series of the night. For those that are curious, this is an event casted by and hosted by Cosmos. Cosmos, of course, being the go-to Brazilian caster in the StarCraft 2 scene. He's amazing. He's beautiful. He's a caster. He's a part of a band. He's a singer. He's got a voice of an angel, papi, a voice of an angel. And he's, of course, covering matches on his end in Brazilian, and we are covering our own here in English. We are the official English stream, and we are jumping into our first matchup of the night. It's going to be a ZvZ, exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the back of yourselves. We have some big Brazilian players here in the tournament. We have players like Yanji, we have Master, we have Inexorable, we have Kamikaze, Dakon, and many others. And of course, Eric, the Kangaroo himself, is also the reigning champion and also in the bracket as well. We will be catching up with Eric in the later rounds, but until then, we're jumping in. And spawning in the top right hand corner of Alcione, we have our pink Zerg player representing Eximius Gaming, of course from the land of Brazil. It is DemonOfNight. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the red Zerg player representing himself, currently teamless, also from the land of Brazil. It is Deftniq. Here we go. And a shout out to the people in the chat, a special shout out as well, because this began at the start of the broadcast. Our very first YouTube member, McMartin. Thank you so much, McMartin777. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for becoming our first member on YouTube. Our YouTube stream has been slowly growing over the past couple of months. We started streaming on YouTube at the start of the year. Fun fact, I believe around January of this year. So it's been, oh my god, it's been almost 7 months since our first YouTube stream, and it's been slowly growing over time. So thank you so much for becoming our first member. Hope you enjoy the content, hope you enjoy the casting, the StarCraft, the emotes as well. Welcome, welcome. And of course, shout out to everyone in the Twitch chat as well, if you ever need us. As always. Going over some of the history of the CranKy Ducklings and explaining what Funada is. But for now, we're settling in. We are going to be settling in here, and we do have an interesting opener. So we have DemonOfNight going for a delayed hatchery. Goes for a delayed hatchery, going for a pool first instead. Meanwhile, Deftniq going for a hatch gas pool. Standard opener out of our red Zerg player. A bit of a, I would say, safer opener out of our pink Zerg. It's a bit odd. It's a little bit interesting here. Again, because of our opener, our hatchery is quite delayed. We have extra lings and extra queens. This will keep us safe against something, for example, like a 12 pool. If Deftniq was going for a 12 pool, if it was going for a 13-12, if it was going for something more aggressive, then DemonOfNight would be safe. As we can see, it was a standard opener from Deftniq, which means this safe opener from Demon, it really works against him. It means that his droning is delayed. It means that, again, he's just working with that much less here back at home. That does impact his economy and his production. So, as a result, on the other side, Deftniq also responding in an interesting manner. Now, I understand this. Basically what just happened is Deftniq, he just saw the late hatchery. He saw the hatchery was delayed, which is crazy. So Spinecrawler's on the way. We recognize that the spawning pool must have been early, and basically Deftniq is reading this as either a 12 pool or a gas pool, like a faster gas into link speed into a link flood. So Deftniq, he sees this, he assumes it's going to be aggression. We can see, again, very safe play. We can even see DemonOfNight is going for a Spinecrawler as well. So something has occurred in the history of DemonOfNight, like in his history of laddering and playing StarCraft, he's been hurt by it. He's been touched in some inappropriate places by Zerg players, and he's just playing as safe as possible. From this, he's going into double gas. This should be leading into 2-base Roach. Meanwhile, Deftniq is responding as he should, right? Safety Spinecrawler just because he saw the fast spawning pool and into a Baliness as well. Now, if I want to be a little bit critical, Deftniq should have scattered with lings. Early on, he should have sent 2 lings across the map to confirm the timing of the gas. And if he had seen that there were no gases, he would have known not to throw down the Spinecrawler and to play this out a little bit safer. Meanwhile, link speed kicks in. We do go for the dive. We shut down the lings. Again, no link speed for DemonOfNight. Remember, he did delay his gases, and we get into the mineral line. Boys are being pulled. Drones are going down. We get 2 worker kills in the main base before being cleaned up. At the same time, we just continue to flood on links, and we're going for the queens. Alas, we don't have enough to break through because of the spine crawler. Thankfully, DemonOfNight will defend. Looking at the Unisource tab, that was 3 drone kills in the main base. Deftniq does take a worker lead, but the aggression does subside, and DemonOfNight defends. DemonOfNight does defend. As a reminder, because of his opener, he is going into 2-base Roach. Roach Warren is about to finish up. We have +1 range on the way as well for DemonOfNight. He's going to be staying on 2 bases, and Deftniq, unfortunately, this 3rd base is delayed. This 3rd base should have been thrown down much earlier because of the 2-base play of his opponents. The advantage of our red Zerg player should have been to take a faster 3rd base and get a better economy. So, alas, Deftniq, he won't quite be able to have that economic advantage that he otherwise should, and that means that Deftniq is falling behind. What I'm referring to is that Deftniq, no Evo Chamber. No Evo Chamber, no upgrades, so DemonOfNight will have the upgrade advantage. Likewise, Deftniq invested into link speed, into a Bailey Nest, into a delayed 3rd base, into a bunch of tech that isn't really going to be coming into play. Now, what I find interesting, though, no lair. No lair for DemonOfNight. That is odd. That is a bit of an oddity. We have the money for it. We have resources to spare, and no lair in sight. So this looks like it could just be a hatch-based all-in, or we have forgotten the lair. Again, our players here are a little bit more amateur. They're, they're not pro gamers or pro players like Eric or Yanji or Inexorable. They're not quite at that level. So we might have just forgotten that here instead. I'm curious if that's the case. Link Scout does confirm. Nice scout here. Nice movement out of Deftniq. He does confirm that there is no lair, and that's a bit of a tell. Now, if I saw no lair here on 2 bases and we were taking a 3rd, I would assume that the 3rd base is a fake 3rd and it's just for larva. Just for larva, and we should be seeing it all in. Meanwhile, Deftniq back at home, repositioning his spine crawler. Is droning up a little bit, but he shouldn't drone too much. Again, upon seeing the lack of lair, we should recognize that aggression is coming, and we can drone up a little bit, maybe 5 workers at the 3rd at most, and we need Roach Ravager. We need to build as much Roach Ravager as possible. We're still droning. Deftniq might be misreading this. At the same time, now we invest into the lair. It's a little bit odd. It's very late here for DemonOfNight. We'll see if we actually make use of it. Meanwhile, the army's moving out across the map, and DemonOfNight does have a massive supply lead. Is going to be moving out. Meanwhile, Deftniq, no overlords. He has no overlords in position, and this is a big mistake. In ZvZ, there's no reason not to. I have to praise DemonOfNight for his own overlord positioning. He's at both entrances, both locations, and because of that, he sees no movement, and Deftniq does not spot the move out of his opponent, and he's been droning. Our red Zerg player has been droning up. While they connect, they shut down the spine crawler. And Deftniq is being caught with his pants down. Again, because of the lack of overlords, we didn't see the army moving out. That didn't tell us to make an army. The vials connect as well. And DemonOfNight, he's breaking through. The Ravagers are exposed, and some of these Ravagers are going down. Nice movement here out of Deftniq to be able to prioritize damage on those Ravagers, but he's going to lose every single worker. Yeah, drones are falling in the 3rd base. It has been compromised. The Vials going for the Overlords. Let's go. We catch an Overlord. Behind this, DemonOfNight was droning, and now we have a Hydra Den on the way. We skip Roach Speed, by the way, which is, again, a little bit odd. This is not the most standard of play here from DemonOfNight to skip the Roach Speed, but it's fine. We kill the 3rd base. From here, all DemonOfNight has to do is back off. Just back off, saturate our 3rd, drone up, and then get into Roach, Ravager, Hydra. Whatever your heart desires when it comes to your unit composition. Should be okay. Meanwhile, Deftniq going to be chasing this down, forcing back the main army. DemonOfNight hasn't been droning, so now I have to be a little bit critical of our pink Zerg player, where we did a lot of damage. This is good, and we have a larger army as well, and we should have been droning. This is the moment to saturate our bases, saturate the 3rd, take our gases, take a 4th base as well, and it's how that saying goes. When you're ahead, get further ahead. Because DemonOfNight is still staying on a low drone count, that is 47 workers, he's actually on an even drone count with his opponent, which is terrifying, right? It's a scary thought here that DemonOfNight does not have the economic advantage despite killing the 3rd base, which means Deftniq is still in this. We can recover. We can rebuild this 3rd, and we can try to catch back up. It's still not an easy road. I would say DemonOfNight still has a lead, And with this, you know, with his lead, he's teching at least. He's working towards a lurker den, towards a hive as well. There we go. Hive is now on the way. We're building up towards lurker tech. So the quality of the army of DemonOfNight is going to be superior, but size-wise, Deftniq can keep up. And there are ways to just outmaneuver and outposition and outmicro a lurker player. Again, lurkers are a little bit slower. They're stationary. With Roach Ravager, especially if the lurker count is low, you can bile them down. You can bile them down. You can catch them off guard. Deftniq has a chance, but again, it is still an uphill battle. It's going to be an uphill battle here for Deftniq. Meanwhile, across the map, we have droned up somewhat here, droning up to around 55, just under 3-base saturation. Likewise, Deftniq also droning up. Long distance mining, but we'll eventually get saturated on 3 bases. And the changeling here of our red Zerg does confirm. Does get eyes on the army, we get eyes on the Hydras, and I think we just barely spotted the lurkers. Now, these are lair tech lurkers. What that refers to is the fact that there are no upgrades. So far, the hive is still not done and no lurker upgrades yet. So these lurkers are less than ideal. They take a long time to uproot and unburrow and reposition. Likewise, their range isn't ideal either. So we can make some magic happen here. Meanwhile, DemonOfNight does get eyes on the main army with that changeling. Wiles are going to be connecting. We spoke about it, and ooh, the first lurker takes some hits but doesn't go down, and we're fighting out of range of the lurkers. The lurkers, they're not really supporting. Now they're moving forward, but it might just be too late. We've lost too much. Yeah, massive losses here for DemonOfNight. Demon of the Night? I'll call him Demon. Does bleed out a lot of his Roach Ravager. Deftniq taking the best fight he could have hoped for. Behind this, taking gases. DemonOfNight's still up in supply. But we spoke about it, right? Like, there are ways to try to outposition, outmaneuver your opponents, and so far, so good for Deftniq. Again, if he can fight out of range of these lurkers, or if he can just catch them off guard. Meanwhile, lurker range is on the way. Lurker shots going up. From here, we are going to be rotating over. Deftniq still just rallying across the map. Still sticking with Roach Ravager. There we go. Lurker Den now on the way for Deftniq. His third base getting fully saturated. So we did take note of a changeling. And Deftniq going to be able to clear up all this creep. Not too bad. I mean, he doesn't have creep of his own, but he's at least deterring some of the creep and some of the vision of his opponent. Lurker still in position. Still on top of the ramp. Overseer does check, thankfully. Yeah, we get eyes on the lurkers. Lurkers are on their own, and we can try to bow them down. Oh, but we have to pull back. But we bleed off 2 Ravagers for 1 lurker. That was an okay trade. The Hydras are going to be able to focus on that Overseer. Not quite. We do have to back off with it, though, otherwise it is going to go down. Speaking of, yeah, Overseer does fall. No detection. That's a scary thought when you're up against a lurker-based army. Ultra Cavern on the way. Oh, this I'm not fond of. So for those that are curious, I mean, I'm sure many people are aware, when it comes to ideal Zerg compositions, Lurker Tech is kind of like the late game you want. Hydra Lurker, Viper. Vipers are a very nice supportive unit here for the Lurkers. Going into Ultras doesn't really make much sense. The reason for this is our upgrades. We have +3 range on the way. We have +0 melee right now. Like, we are not really set up for Ultra upgrades at the moment. And investing into kind of splating and into Ultras, it's not going to be too efficient, and it's not going to be ideal here as we're going for a base trade. The army's out of position. DemonOfNight's out on the map. Meanwhile, here comes the Roach Ravager. We knock down the Roach Warren, and we're pushing into the natural base. And do we turn around? We do not. We commit to the base trade. Let's go. We're going to be committing. That natural base is going to be going down, but we don't peel off any units to go for the third. Meanwhile, the third base of Deftniq is going to go down. Lurkers are positioning here at the natural. And essentially, DemonOfNight, he's going to be able to shut down the third, the natural, and the main. Meanwhile, Deftniq only goes for the natural and the main base. The third is still fully operational. The fourth is up and running. Spine crawlers on the way. This base trade, time is of the essence, so we're not making the best use of this army. You can see so many of these roaches aren't really attacking. They aren't really doing anything. We need to split off. We need to head towards the third base. We're going for the tech, which is good. Likewise, DemonOfNight, he splits off his lurkers, busts into the main. And we do kill all the tech structures, but we have to keep going. Like, again, we're taking far too long. And we're taking too long. The spine crawlers are finishing. They are finishing up. DemonOfNight going for a hidden base. And this could just be an elimination. I believe Deftniq doesn't have any drones on the map. We're running out of buildings. We're running out of buildings here. Third base is going to go down. Deftniq, unfortunately, didn't know there was a fourth. We just have a couple of drones, but alas, the gas is spawning pool. These are the last buildings. It's all we have left. And they're going down. At the same time, we're pushing in towards the right-hand side, but there is still another hatchery. Spawning pool goes down. Hydrogen going to go down, and now it all comes down to the gas geyser. Ay, ay, ay. Ultras do rock up. The gas falls, and GG. Oh, we don't even get the GG. DemonOfNight will take the game, and we'll take a lead 1-0. GG. GG, well played. Went down to the base trade, and unfortunately Deftniq, again, he did need to split up his forces just to DPS down those buildings as quickly as possible. Was unable to, and honestly, like, if he did split up his forces, I do think he may have been able to win. Like, despite how long he was taking, right? Despite how long it took him to move out and to actually get to the third and get to the fourth base, things were still getting quite close there, and DemonOfNight did not have that many buildings left. And it's because Deftniq was the first to initiate the base trade. If Deftniq had split up his forces, there's a big possibility that he could have won that. He could have won that game. Regardless, GG, well played. Does go in favor of DemonOfNight. And now we're getting ready for game number 2. Let's go. Let us go. We are getting ready. Catching up. Games are best of 1, best of 3. I apologize for it. I think it showed a best of 1 in the very beginning, for like the first couple of minutes. I did fix it up. Oh. But yeah, DemonOfNight is going to take a lead here, but I think what we have experienced here in the first game is that both Deftniq and DemonOfNight are quite similar in skill. Is what I will say. They are quite similar, and there were definitely kind of aspects of their play where one was better than the other, right? It's like Deftniq had a very solid build of choice, going hatch gas pool into his eventual third base, and responding quite well, you know, recognizing the faster spawning pool, going for the spine crawler. Like, a lot did make sense there. Meanwhile, DemonOfNight was playing quite greedily. He was playing very safe early on, but really risky in other aspects just because he had so little to work with and so little to respond with. He was being punished early on. Yeah, there's kind of a lot of back and forth that was going on there. I did appreciate it. And I wouldn't be surprised if this even goes to the ace match. Would not be surprised. We'll see where this takes us. Let's MR these players. First diamond. Here we go. As we're getting into our next game and spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Golden Hour, we have our pink Zerg player from land Brazil, representing Eximius Gaming. It is DemonOfNight. Going for a 13-12. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have the red Zerg player, also from the land of Brazil. It is Deftniq. We go. So, yeah, 13-12, an actual build here from DemonOfNight. Hyper aggressive. The goal here is to flood Lings across the map to get into Ling speed, of course, and into a Bane bust thereafter. So, hyper aggression here from DemonOfNight. Deftniq, can we recognize what's going on, and can we respond as well? That is the question. It's going to be a bit of a test of skill here for Deftniq to see if he can survive against this and how he does respond. Overlords are moving out. So far, standard opener, it's going to be a hatch gas pool. Again, with the standard opener, you can defend against all forms of aggression like this. There are some openers that are easier to defend with than others. That is true. But it is going to be possible depending on our reaction. There we go. The spawning pool is now done. Lings should be on the way. There we go. We have 6 Lings in production. Ling speed alongside it. We do stay in gas. And this should be leading into a Baneling nest. We only have 2 drones in gas, which is interesting. So that will delay the Baneling Nest follow-up here. Bear that in mind. These things are moving out. So that's going to be a little bit more ideal for Deftniq. Now, this Overlord should be able to get eyes on the lack of expansion, of course. We should be able to confirm this is moving out across the map. The Lings do avoid the first Overlord, but the Lings will be spotted by the second Overlord. So big scout here, Deftniq. He does spot the Lings just barely. Was he paying attention? Does he realize what he just saw as we are not making any link? Okay, there we go. Lings are on the way. Queens are in production as well. We do have to evacuate the low ground. Again, we can respond a couple of different ways. There's a Baneling Nest now in production for Demon of Night. And we ideally want to save the expansion. If we want to save the expansion, we have to pull the boys. Boys need to be pulled, and there we go. A couple of boys being pulled to help support the Lings. Queen about to pop out. Baneling Nest not quite done. And so far, a good defense here by Deftniq. Is keeping up. Does force back the Lings initially. Queens are popping out. And we need to bring the second queen. We need that second queen here. To help support. Link speed kicks in. No Baneling Nest. And no spine crawl. We need spines. We need some spine crawlers, papi. Uh-oh. Baneling Nest gonna be on the way. The queen is still in the main. It looks like Deftniq has not realized what's going on. Even though we've seen everything. We see the lack of expansion. We see the Lings flooding across the map. We're gonna try and wall off. But it's too little too late. The Banelings are rolling in. They roll on forward. They crash into the Lings. And the queen tries to hold the line, but it looks like it's going to be too much. Yeah, DemonOfNight, he breaks through. GG gets called, and DemonOfNight will take the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played. Again, unfortunately, we did scout for the most part what was going on, and initially we were okay against the first wave of Lings, but again, in the follow-up, we did need to bring together our queens, start up spine crawlers, start the Baneling Nest in the main base to make sure we can get it up and running, and evacuate the natural. Bearing in mind that Demon of Night was all in. Demon of Night was completely all in there, so even if Deftniq, even if the defending Zerg player loses the hatchery, it's okay. We can afford to lose the hatchery as long as we can survive and maintain our economy or our worker lead and maintain our main base. So we can throw down spine crawlers in the main, we can set up the Baneling Nest and get defensive Banelings behind the queens as the queens roll off the ramp. It's a very, in a way, clinical, you need to be quite clinical in your approach to defending against these earlier rushes. And unfortunately, it does look like Deftniq is maybe a little bit inexperienced when it comes to that kind of defense. Did seem to be the case here. But with that, GG. GG, well played. And I'm sure Deftniq can learn from this experience, can have a look at the replay and recognize, or maybe even just dissect himself as to what he can get away with and what he can't get away with against something like a 13-12. So GG, well played. With that, Demon of Night does advance on into the next round, and we're going to be following him into a ZvZ. Let's slip into the DMs, papi. Let's go.